I'll call the meeting to order.
Sandy not here?
Sandy
She
is
couldn't make
unable to come, and I guess I'll start with that Eric had sent a letter a couple weeks ago after our last meeting saying that he was going to resign effective the date of his letter, due to the fact that they have a new baby, and so he has a lot of other obligations at home, and he cannot commit the time that he would like to commit to the committee. So, and I, in the meantime, talked to Matt Offen, who's the chairman of the selectmen, and he said that they would fold that into the appointment process in June. So rather than trying to hurry to, because you have to have notice and do applications and that stuff, so they just do it all in June. So we will have just 8 members in for the next. Well, the next meeting we should have another member. So we're just missing one today.
Yeah, appointments usually take effect on July 1st,
So
technically.
maybe
So
we will.
but-
Still be short.
Yeah, it's the new fiscal year. Yeah.
So, but I mean, we can invite them to
Yeah.
come, just to attend if they're interested. So, the next item is staff salary update. I think I kind of we discussed it at the last meeting, and I kind of threw everybody a curveball. That I guess this is just typical public meeting conversation. That Beth has been with us for a year, and she's also getting an increase at the health department, and so effective 7/1, her pay is going up at the health department. So I talked to Mary Lauria about that, how that needed to be handled, what we should do. And there's a blue form, literally I think it was a blue form that I have to fill out, but to keep her consistent at that same wage, and for personal reasons, that was her salary was at a very low $16 an hour, and it's going to get bumped up. I believe it's $19.17 an hour, and so I just wanted the committee to either discuss that or have an opportunity to discuss that, and then have a vote so that I can let Mary know that that's what we have chosen to do.
all right, John.
Yep.
I'll make the motion that the committee authorizes the increase of our assistant to match her other salary at $19.50, I believe you said.
Second.
I think it's 1917.
Whatever to match it is the intent.
Yeah.
So my only question is, we put aside 24,000 each year for admin.
Yeah.
We're good for that?
Oh,
That's covered it?
if we
Yeah.
spend 7 or 8 at the absolute most of
Oh.
that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that number is
Like 3 times higher than it used to be.
conservatively high, just in case there are other issues. Our budget for administration can be 10% of our budget.
Mm-hmm.
So it's significantly more than that. And if you're in a town that has, millions of dollars, you need that because you're paying a full-time staff person.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's also a catch-all, so that if there's a project that, like one time there was a sign that didn't get included in the budget. So that's where that money came from, the administrative budget, because there's an expense side and a payroll side.
Okay, but the point is we have
There's
buffer to cover. Cool.
3 times that amount. Yes, we have never come close, and even like when we have town meeting, and that's it ebbs and it flows. Town meeting's very busy, or warrant time when we're preparing January, February, or meeting night weeks. There's a lot more time involved because she's literally here and working. So it's we have more than enough.
Perfect.
Okay, so I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay, we have 3 sets of minutes. I apologize, we didn't get them all to you quicker. 2 sets, I believe the December 2023 and the January 2024 were in the packet. And then there's a November that is in front of you now that, you only have the hard copy. So if you wanna take a moment to review those.
Just to get us moving, I'll move the committee approve all 3 sets of minutes with any changes during discussion.
Second.
Beat me to. So did Jack?
Jack beat me.
Okay, so, I have a motion.
Young and quick.
From Justin, a second by Jack, to approve the minutes.
And if there's any changes during our discussion.
Okay. So do we vote? I mean, this is like,
Well, can I have a minute more to look?
Yep.
and the one person that really it would have input on the November minutes are Ken. Because 2 pages of those minutes are dedicated to him.
Whatever it says must be right. If it isn't, we can amend it later.
And it says, you will give us all $1 million. That gets you to read your minutes next time.
Having the video is so helpful too. I feel like a lot of people jump to video now, and then
So it was. So is that a direct quote there?
you got a direct quote.
I mean, is all of this in November directly quoted from the video?
It might be. It might be. I'm gonna go double check, but you can just read along. It's like an audiobook.
Oh, I think there's they made a wrong word here. That's pretty impressive. I noticed on January 25th, as I recall, I attended on Zoom for that, although it says I wasn't in attendance.
Oh,
So that's good.
But it said I made a report, but I wasn't in attendance. So
How do we,
In person maybe, but attended via Zoom.
so
Yeah,
like,
yeah, so you submitted the report, but then it says this will be discussed when Ken is present.
which is that? What are we talking about?
The January 25th. But you're saying you were there on Zoom?
Yeah, I was there in Zoom. I remember. I was at Tahoe, and I was sitting at a table and pretty good internet connection.
But is that the night where our Zoom failed too, and we had to end the
It
meeting?
failed at the very end.
Yeah.
So
you were there for-
And Eric was on Zoom too.
Yep.
By the way, Eric was zooming in on that as well.
so we do.
Because at the end, it was just Eric, myself, and you. We got cut off from everybody,
Yes. Yes.
and we were just jabbering on and on, not knowing that we weren't talking to anybody but ourselves.
It happens.
Okay, so for the January 25th meeting, we need to add under in attendance, should we say in-person attendance, so add
Is that
in-person
does
attendance?
it really matter?
I don't,
Just,
Or do we?
I
I
don't
don't think you
recall
need to
they ever.
differentiate.
I don't recall that we did it even for the planning board minutes. I don't recall saying distinctly that someone was virtual. I can look that up.
Might
Either
have
way,
been your like the transition between you and your mom again.
So we need to add
it's Eric and myself.
Eric and
Could we have
Ken.
multiple meetings with a Zoom?
Also, on that same set of minutes, where it says
February.
treasurer's report, there's an extra R in treasurer.
I'm looking at January.
January, that's what I'm saying.
So maybe we just approve
There's an extra R. there.
November and December tonight and come back with January next time, just to be super clear, or no,
Can we just,
or as
add it right now and be done with it?
yeah, no, that's fine too.
Yep. Amend the January minutes to include Ken's attendance.
Add Eric and Ken on January 25th minutes, and then on where the bold says treasurer's report, there's an extra R after
It's not an extra R, it's just transposed.
treasurer. Oh, okay, I see.
It should come after the U, not before it.
yep. The planning board minutes say explicitly present for the meeting were, and then everyone that was
So you
on.
just list them all.
List them all, Zoom or not.
Okay, so we'll just add those.
On the minutes from November,
Wait just a second. November?
I know the treasurer's report was long,
Yep.
but it's really very hard to read. Can we put some spacing in there? Like at paragraph end,
It's meant to be hard to read.
just a little spacing. I know it's gonna make the minutes longer, but
Maybe like
Easier
where it
to
says
read.
like carried over funds and then reserve funds, like add
yeah,
spaces.
at the end of every paragraph, there are paragraphs there.
Right, and it just don't. you
There's
don't
just
need
no
a blank.
space.
Okay. Okay. Any other corrections, additions? Hearing none. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I
I,
All those opposed? Hearing none. Declare the motion carried unanimously. So it's to Ken.
Okay. All right, I hope everybody can see that well enough. Trying to make it bigger. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so, this was this is the first report after a town meeting, and everything that we had proposed was, approved by town meeting. So, there's one minor little issue there on, line between 9 and 10. There was a disposition, a digit disposition error in the warrant that made the budgeted reserve low by $18. The last two digits, the 4 and the 6, were transposed in Article 26. So at the Finance Committee, we decided just to let it go through because the $16 is immaterial. $18 is immaterial, but in order to make everything add up, it had to go in the report somewhere. So this is where it is. There's $18 less that has been reserved, and that'll flow through at the end of the year. It'll end up in the undesignated balance.
And does Mary need to make a journal entry for that, or
No,
because this isn't
not at
a
all.
real number? This is
The estimate will be corrected, and this will be in there, and it will make no
It'll get
difference.
baked
It
into
won't even
the-
show up
yep.
anywhere there. But since we use the estimates, you can see at the top, the 649, it's, that number is gonna be vastly different. And so the $18 won't matter. But the big thing that did happen is
Before you go
that,
too far, the 18%, didn't we get an email that's 14.4?
yes. Yes, we did, and that's the next subject. We got an email saying that there was going to be a reduced, even further reduced surcharge this year. We had put in 18%, which was 3% less than last year, to be conservative, but it wasn't conservative enough. These numbers went to town meeting, and that email came in the next day. So it was too late to change these numbers. So where you're going to see that number is. What did I do with it? It's,
estimated reduction.
there it is. That's line 44. Since those numbers are all there, I stuck it after the non-reserved carried over funds, and I said that there's an estimated reduction. It's now 14%, which is $22,800 less. Now, it doesn't matter that we reserved. Our reserves were. It's going to mean that our reserves were high, all by $2,208 each. So the reserves are a little high. It makes no difference. So we,
$22,000
when they give us more money, it turns out that we had reserved a little low. When we give us less money, it turns out that we reserved a little high.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter. It's
We
not
adjust it,
material.
yeah.
But
And
this
the
is where
reserves are minimum reserves anyway, so we could always, if we wanted to reserve 50% all total instead of the 30% total, we could.
right. So we ended up reserving a little more.
If we had,
Okay, so that's that. As a consequence of moving from past the town meeting, the May numbers last time you saw it were blue and italicized because that was our next town meeting. Now they're not, and we opened up the October numbers here for any grants that we do in October. So now they're blue and italicized.
I like that.
The article numbers are listed over here on the left, just so if anybody wants to correlate them with the warrants, it's easier to do if you don't have to look up search through every one. So, so you can see for the carried over funds, or for the revenue, there's a space for them. This is a space for the undesignated balance, carried over funds. And here's the space for anything we do out of the three reserves. So, altogether, our funds for all purposes is now $782,676. And like I said, that's about $22,000 less due to the reduced match estimate. Still plenty of money for anything that we have coming, so we won't be, we won't be limited by not having enough money to do whatever it is we want to do. And so the summary is unchanged except for the correction to in the line where we correct the estimates. We now have a correction, and that's the $22,000. And that will be corrected again at the end of the fiscal year.
And you're missing an R in correction.
Those darn R's.
You're still proofreading.
So the
That just jumped out at me, sorry.
bottom line is we have $782,000 and to grant for whatever we need to grant.
Lovely.
All right, move we approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
I have a motion from Justin, a second from Paul. Do you have any further discussion? Any questions?
Just one. The 782,000. That's all available funds, but then separated into each bucket is where would I see up
Yes, the reserve funds are included in that.
in that number?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's all I needed to know.
So, John, this is the first meeting in months and months and months that we actually had a good connection to the displays. And we have a project summary, which is now in a searchable format.
Oh, okay.
And if we have a few minutes,
Sure.
I could introduce this to everybody, and then we can, Beth will get the most updated copy of it, and she can send it around to everybody.
Okay.
And so this is across the top. This has basically a project number. It has a site number, which is the location of the project. And there are, I don't know, I'll show you about 30 odd locations. And there's a project sponsor. The categories are the CPA categories, the amount of grant, unused funds returned, and then the net funds used, and then other funds used by the project not involving the CPA. And funding year, a description which has recently been copied from the article, and then whether it's opened or closed, and some status of the project, and whether there's a sign and some the CPC contact and a sunset date. So these have filters across the top. If you're familiar with Excel filters, what you can do on these things is, in the case of let me go to the bottom of it, and I'll show you. At the bottom, it summarizes everything. And here on the bottom, in the left hand, yeah, there we go, on the bottom. It's got open space, recreation, historical preservation, affordable housing, and it's got the amounts that have, the total amounts net of returns that have been granted and used in those categories. And up until, but not including this town meeting, we have granted $11 million. And then it's got a percent based on that total. And it's got a little pie chart here that shows it. Recreation is orange. Historical is, I don't know why historical is not in the legend, but historical is gray, and open space is the orangey one. Blue is open space. Gray is historical. So the color yellow indicates a project that's open, and the other color, no color means it's closed. And over here, I'll show you on this this line right here, and this, I guess the center right. These are fillable files. They can be either open or closed, and if you close it, the color goes away.
Cool.
And so if a file is open, then if it's open, then it becomes yellow. I want to show you what you can do with the filters, so I'm going to go just back up to the top. And this is a project and a sponsor and a category. Let's look at categories. One that's here, or sponsor. Here's one that's sponsor here. I'll just click down here, and it shows you the name of all the sponsors. And I tried to make sure that every one of them was consistent in use, so that if it's the the Grafton Historical Commission, that's what it is. But if I just sort of click on none, click on, say, Affordable Housing Trust, just for grins, and it takes away everything and just shows you Affordable Housing Trust. And it's just not the housing authority, but the trust itself. And it shows that it started out, and it's got every grant made to the Affordable Housing Trust. And this includes the $225,000 COVID thing that we did, of which they returned $194,000. And everything else on this has been startup costs and the 10% reserves. And now, if we look at go down to the bottom, you can see right here that the total amount of money that's been granted to the Affordable Housing Trust, less net of the returns, is just shy of $1 million. And if you when we add this last town meeting's grants, it'll be just over $1 million.
Very cool.
And so you can do that just by using these projects here. And so if I go back to the sponsor and I clear those out, and if I want to do something like see, we have sites. If you look at the tabs across the bottom, here are the sites. And this is every distinct location. And so if we were to look at, just let me pick one. South Grafton Community House Site 6, okay? So I'm going to go back to all projects. I'm going to say site number, and I'm going to say get rid of that and just select number 6. And so this is going to show us every grant made to the South Grafton Community House. And there they are. Well, there they are. And so it shows that we've granted $245,000 in, looks like 6 different grants to the South Grafton Community House for these various reasons.
That's awesome.
So there's a lot of interesting things you can do to dig into the 100-odd grants that we've done. So, and basically you can click on any of these category sponsors, anything like that, and just sort on anything you want and select anything you want. And you can add more than one. You can have several of them operating. So what will happen with this is we will add the grants that were made this last town meeting, and then we'll pass this out and everybody can use it. And every time it gets changed, Beth will pass it out again.
Excellent.
So is it like a living document that Beth is updating when we,
Beth
or
will
who
be
does
updating
the
it.
updating of the
One of the
status?
things I want to caution is that the data is not 100% correct, particularly some of the older data. We're not sure There are some projects we think return money, but we're not sure how much they returned. It may be material, it might not be, we don't remember.
Yeah, because we're just working off of, I'm assuming, what the warrant says.
Yes,
So
we know what the warrant says, but we're not quite sure if the project closed and it sent a few dollars back. Also, the status of some of the old projects is no longer remembered. But I would ask everybody that if you think of things that are corrections or additions to, with data that's not there, please give it to Beth and so that she can correct it.
So is this document you're gonna share, is it a read only?
No, it's
So
not.
people can modify their own documents, but what's gonna matter is what Beth
Right,
or, okay,
right. Everybody will have a copy and Beth will have the original.
okay.
And she'll distribute the original when there's, substantive changes to it. Like after every time.
Because like the very first project, which was Ekblot, there is a sign there.
Okay, oh,
There are actually two signs.
okay,
There's a huge sign.
the very first project.
Yep.
Right, so if you want to know what the very first project was, this
I-
is the
I
place
remember
to
that.
go.
Was Ekbal our first one?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember Joyce Kelly was the.
I remember when it was
chairman.
done. I just didn't know that was the first one.
So,
And she
if you-
got that big rock, and that was the first sign, and then we did the regular sign with the granite post.
Okay, does it say that there's a sign
I
there?
wouldn't say it said no, or blank.
Sign this site, blank, see, we don't know.
So the answer is yes.
And it's got a, but what do you call it?
Yes,
Let's call them
two.
a granite sign, granite
Um,
post signs?
It's got a natural stone,
Oh.
huge
Got
stone.
It's like a bronze plaque, right?
All with the bronze plaque. That was done first because that's more the information about the Ekblas because we wanted to recognize because they donated the site, I believe, or gave us a deal, the town a deal. And then because of CPC, we wanted to have a sign that identified it when you're driving by
So-
on the road, and it has the swans on it.
especially as one of the inaugural projects.
And it's because it was a boat launch. I think that's kind of the
And then there is a wooden sign on granite posts, right?
right, our standard.
Okay, good,
it's not
now it's got a
spelled
sign. See,
Our first update. Yay.
first update, yeah, good. Okay,
Thanks for
so,
doing this, Ken. This is
I
awesome.
love this.
are there any questions about this?
Yeah, can you go to project 40?
Project 40.
Sounds like Area 64.
Project 40.
Project 40, Stone Arch Bridge.
Yeah, so when you sent this out back in like January, we were going through it and I took a note on the unused funds on that one and on project 44. And I didn't write detailed enough notes, but there was like 34,682 on 44 and then the Stone Arch Bridge looks like it never happened.
Okay, they're because it's two different things.
Yeah, it was done twice, but it
Right,
never really
project-
got off the ground the first time.
No, I don't think that's what I'm asking at all. I just for documentation purposes so that I didn't write enough notes as to why or is it the same project? I don't know if
Project
it's,
40? Or, excuse me, yeah, Project 40, the Stone Arch Bridge?
and 40 and 44, that's what Paul and John are trying to say they're the same project?
Oh, no,
No.
no,
No.
Riverview
No.
Park is
That's a different
is
one.
by Fisherville Park.
Right. So I only took just these. There's something about this that triggered for me to ask, but I don't remember
Well,
what.
that project,
And I don't know where I would have gotten that number.
okay, that project did not, the 100,
Because it got canceled. So that's why
Yeah.
that all came back. But this, I wish I
Riverview.
took more notes. I don't know where I would have gotten that number. But I'm just sharing it because that came from somewhere.
I'm assuming they asked for that money, return it, and then
The
made another
Historical
proposal.
Commission actually had a charrette at the Methodist Church, and so we were trying to get input from the community, and so this was the initial first stab at this, and it got to be where it was going to be a much bigger project. It was going to include Whitney Park. It was going to have some kind of connection to the walkway over the dam. So it grew and grew and grew, and the Historical Commission, for whatever reason, and that piece I think Linda Casey maybe was chairman of the historical commission, so she might be able to answer because she had all the signs and all that stuff. And I think all that stuff was given to us. I don't know if it's still somewhere here.
Are you talking about the Stone Arch Bridge?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but it morphed from.
It's called something
the
Park,
Stone
New
Arch.
England Village.
That's Whitney Park.
Yeah, that's what
The
she was
original one
calling
was a
it.
bad idea.
Because it was going to be this
Huge
It just
thing.
kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and 137,000 wasn't going to do. Because I think we started getting estimates back from Bayside Engineering, and it was huge, and so that was just returned. The project was, we can't do this, and then if you want to keep going down or
Ray Mead.
get out
Well,
of this.
Ray Mead
Yeah,
picked up
what
the ball on
I
it.
just clicked on the project filter and typed in Stone Arch into
Yeah.
the field, and it showed me there's 4 Stone Arch Bridge
so,
projects.
so there should be.
And it selected them, and so if I just
Yeah.
enter them, it shows now that there are 4 here's the 4 Stone Arch Bridges. There were a couple of,
So the
Study,
the first
a
one was a
study.
study to do a feasibility.
the second one was
The
a
second
study.
one was
A study.
That was the engineering study.
And then there was the 137,000, which got canceled.
right, and then the next two were when fire engine number 2, Ray Mead spearheaded this project
Yes.
to do all the
Right.
work,
There's
to
a-
be in
yeah, Fire
charge,
Engine 2. yeah.
and they did an initial funding request, and then it turned out that that was not nearly enough funds once they got into it, so they came back and got additional funds to complete the project. And then they did fundraising on their own, and then Steve Roney kind of died in the middle of this, and then it became
A beautiful park.
named for him.
Okay, yes,
So it was a very meandering path,
but it did get completed.
and it's right. And every time you drive by, you're
Oh, yeah.
it's
It's a
Right,
great
so the
little
net
spot.
amount of money.
and it was such an eyesore.
Yeah, the net amount of money was $369,000.
Okay.
It's the 2 studies that were not used, and then
No, the studies, the initial were
Were
because
they?
that
Okay.
that did engineer because the historical commission was trying to find out how much it's going to cost, what can you do, and how can it be done, because one of the studies said you need to take all this down, and we're like, no, we're not.
another one was
And
that
rebuild it.
we had to rebuild the bridge,
That's right,
and the
that
bridge is swamped.
And-
The water level of the
Right.
bridge, that bridge was designed before the dam was made across the
Right.
street,
So
and the
it's-
water level went from normal to way up high.
that they really
And
they
so the
wanted
bridge
to
was actually-
dismantle every stone
They
and
should've-
reconstruct it, and we're like, well, logistically, there's no way where for you to offload all this. We don't own that property because that was another
That's a terrible-
option
that's a terrible
was to
idea.
buy the little
It's a
house and make that
terrible idea.
affordable housing because they wanted to have an overlook that overlooked on the opposite of the restaurant. All kinds of, this was just very, it was unclear in terms of what was needed to be done. And they thought if it were affordable housing, then you'd own all that land, you'd have parking for it. I mean, it was a good idea, but the owners weren't wanting to sell the house at the time. In the meantime, they did, but, it worked out just fine the way it did.
I was gonna say, I'm happy that it did end
Right.
up becoming a
A
successful
lot
project.
cleaner project, it's just the bridge.
And here you can see that if you want to know everything that happened on a particular location, you could have just put in location 17
Yep.
and found the same data.
Excellent.
So does that answer any of your question? I don't know what number you're at, had a question about.
As far as my question, no, it was a lot of historical background. That was great.
No, but you had a dollar amount that you had
Right. So I think I'm gonna have to go do more of my homework so I can ask the question properly. I know I asked it back in January, so I'll just check the tape and that'll give me more of a clue. But that one in 44, and I had a specific number I put on 44, and I must have gotten it from somewhere.
What was the number?
$34,682.27.
34.7 on 44.
What was
44?
44 was the park in South on Providence Road, correct?
Okay, actually, let me, we can just try typing that number in and seeing if it comes up anywhere. There was a grant for how much? Well, we can just put a grant for,
So it wasn't a grant. It was what I believe was to be returned funds, and it wasn't included in
Oh,
there.
oh,
I wrote
okay.
it in, so it wouldn't really pop
oh,
up.
okay, all right.
But you could type in Riverview Park. And
It was
maybe
Riverview Park.
Okay.
I don't know that money was returned from Riverview
that's my question.
Okay, for Riverview, I'm gonna go to sites.
because again, correct me if somebody could correct me
I'm
because
gonna
most of you
alphabetize the.
that I believe we had to pay for that sign because I don't know that sign that they had funds to do that, so that came out of our budget. If I'm not mistake.
Okay, that's
Which
site
could be-
2. Okay, so we'll go back to projects and look at site number 2. Okay, that's odd. Oh, maybe, okay, whatever.
Oh, it said there were two.
There's Riverview Park.
Yeah,
At that site,
44.
we've got,
Oh, so the sign, they did come back for the sign, so that was separate.
Okay.
But I think that did come out of our
right,
budget.
so I don't, yeah, if there's any return money in that, that's data that we don't have, and we would love to have it.
Right, so I gotta figure out where and how I came up with that number, and then I'll get back to you guys. Because I know we talked about it at that meeting, I brought it up, so, I'll figure it out.
So,
And then I'll send you an email and you can,
so in using this thing, this tool, I went to a site because I know that Riverview Park is one place. And I just searched for the list for Riverview Park. I learned it was site 2. I did site 2, and we found out that there was a study here that's not associated with that name. It was a field study, which later became Riverview Park,
So how did that connect to Riverview Park?
by the site number, the location.
Okay.
Site 2.
Got you.
So instead of just going into projects and doing like Control F to find Riverview Park, you can
Yeah,
go to the
except we
sites,
Yeah,
find
but
everything.
we wouldn't have found it because Riverview Park isn't listed in that text.
Exactly.
It should be, but it wasn't.
what do you do for work? You seem pretty Excel savvy.
Oh, I know. I was gonna say I'm an Excel nerd, and I'm just looking at this like I love this. This is great.
Pretty cool.
Oh, what did I just do? I just did the wrong.
You'll have to ask him on which career.
Oh,
No, yeah.
multiple careers are cool.
Okay, so that's the end of this.
It's still in the wrong
It's
box.
doing the wrong spot.
And now it's saying
Now it's got more cross schools. Damn.
Ruining everything.
Okay, come on, how come that, oh, something's,
it's not letting you
Oh,
edit. Oh, is that why? It wants to be in that line?
Do try the function bar.
No.
I jinxed you. I'm super sorry for mentioning your Excel skills.
okay,
No pressure.
Okay.
okay, there we go, now it's in there. All right, that's it, so,
Good. Very nice.
Great job.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Can't wait to have it to play with.
Okay, if there's any discussion for town meeting warrant articles, if, it's an opportunity to thank you for speaking, for Jim Gallagher.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem. I wish I had done a little bit more, but I was on my feet, so
Yeah. I
Passed.
yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah, everything passed.
I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling well. And I was like, well, at least nothing's happening today because I, for some reason, had in my mind it was the next week. And I looked and I was like, let me just rest a little bit. And then I woke up worse and I was like, I can't go. And I was very. But we did talk about. Never mind. I'll get to that later.
Okay. So I have, and it may be jumping the gun, because if we're missing, Sandy's not here, and we have a missing member to talk about the new projects, because the new projects that are coming online aren't gonna come online until July, but I would like to, at least the next meeting. But the projects that I have listed, Affordable Housing Trust, because it's not like a project, but it's someone that is, I don't know, is anybody on that committee? Because Eric was on that committee.
I'm not on it, but I believe I'm adjacent enough to where I could
They
pick
could
that
get-
up.
Because
Oh, I
it's
see.
a lot of it is just to be a conduit from whatever they're doing or
Yeah.
whatever's going on.
I feel like it
because
would make sense, seeing as my role is technically kind of supposed to be.
right, but
for
the way
that,
our
it's aligned
committee
with
is
it.
set up, it's not set up. for-
Exactly.
There was no Affordable Housing Trust.
It was
when
on, yes.
We were
So yeah, I would be comfortable taking that up.
created. So, and I think Jim kind of did that for a while until Eric came on.
Yep.
Town records, historic gravestones, Grafton Common, which hopefully it's going to be
It's
finished.
gonna be wrapped up
I
soon.
kept them on 95 North Street, North Cross Park, which I would think that's going to be finished pretty soon.
Yeah, the mulch is it, and then it'll be.
That's it. Okay, so then that's probably going to go away. That's going to go away. Rental assistance, the baseline report, those should go away, I would think, pretty soon. Nipmuc Homestead, that library, Congo and Baptist Church, all those are going to be new. And we'll need.
I'm happy to pick up
sponsors.
one or the other of those.
So, but it's like, if you wanna think about it, and then at the next meeting, if people wanna fight over
Yep.
which projects they would like to have, we can have that, but at least this is giving you a little head start on, what we need to have people supervising or overseeing.
Well, I'd like to do the Baptist church if anybody's not particular to that.
Okay.
I'm happy to do the congregational.
I did Nitbook last time. I don't mind doing it again. I also don't mind if someone else wants to pick up something.
Okay.
I was interested in doing the cupola.
Okay.
Oh, that's not John. I thought that was already signed.
No,
Here we go.
I mean, I'm doing it at a default.
Having to do it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It's a perfect combination because it's Evan and John. Neither of them, it's their thing.
Perfect.
Okay. Right. So, project updates, the Grafton Upton Railroad, and again, my question is, which we probably don't have an answer, is
Nothing new.
no money, because it's money. Is my, it's like, are we looking at 100,000?
I know nothing,
Nothing.
new
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
I know a little bit.
What do you know?
Ooh, what do you know?
I know that the owner of the land is unhappy at the amount it came back at. They believe it's too low. I know that it's a lot more a heavier lift for Upton to get this. So Grafton's just kind of along for the ride on this. It doesn't seem like there's going to be anything. Again, no update, but that is what I know.
So
So-
you know that there was, you're talking about the assessment came in low.
Yes.
Okay, but you
Per the owner,
Right.
they believe it to be low. Whether it is or
yes,
isn't.
but they always do.
Right. So, but that puts.
But we don't know how much the assessment did come at.
Correct.
We don't know what it was, but as expected, the owner thought it was low.
Right. Right.
So for the land, half of it, or not half, probably 2/3 of it, or 3/4 is in Upton, and a third or a fourth, a much smaller amount, is in Grafton. So,
And it's landlocked in Grafton.
and it's all one property owner, and it's all desirable by the railroad.
Yes.
So it's not like they would say, okay, we'll sell Grafton, the Grafton's, Grafton, the Grafton side, and we'll sell the railroad. That doesn't help us. We want it.
Has to be all or nothing.
But
We want it,
And-
we want
if
nothing,
that's-
not
and-
nothing, we want
and
all.
that- and that- the way it would work is that
We don't want nothing.
Upton is gonna be buying Upton side.
Yeah,
And Grafton would be buying Grafton
so
side.
Grafton is
But we
leading
need
the
to both-
project.
Both sides need to work together
And it's,
to buy the entire parcel.
It's like John Layton who's negotiating. Is that his name, John?
Joe
Layton?
Joe Layton.
Joe Layton, yeah. He's
So-
negotiating it. All right, well,
That's our all planner.
He
It is.
pulled the long con.
I do have a question though, because this isn't an official project, can we put it somewhere else on the agenda? Because I thought we weren't really supposed to be advocating for projects. Projects are supposed to come to us, is what I've been told before.
Well, this is the reason it's here is because we're trying to keep it as
it will come.
it's a
yeah.
desirable
I love that
project
it's a placeholder. I just don't
It
believe
will-
it's under the right spot.
If it fits in our.
So do you
plan,
just want to have a new, number 7?
Yeah, just make it a
bump
new
in
number
and say
5. Like,
potential project or
Yeah.
on the horizon,
Yeah.
some.
yeah, like
On the
treasurer's
on the
report.
horizon.
Yeah,
On the
something
horizon.
else. Just
That's
because
okay.
anybody
That's
looking
general.
at this would assume
Sticker
we're
shock.
purchasing that land already because it's
Yeah,
the
on
way
the
it's on the
horizon.
agenda.
Okay,
But I
so-
think it should stay on the agenda, just
Yeah.
somewhere different.
Right, and also still on the horizon is the Robinson 61A on Silver Lake.
Well, that's, I was gonna, because I have driven past that and it looks like that's why I asked. It looked like a new sign, not like one that's been sitting there for a while. So I didn't
Maybe
know
they refresh the sign.
if they put in a new sign up or if they actually are selling another piece of property.
There isn't another piece, it's the last one, so,
But there's one last that has not been sold.
correct, there's only, it's one piece, but it's 2 lots.
And they could still subdivide it even further if they wanted to.
No, they
so-
can't, so they can't go smaller than 2. It's, if you've seen it, it's really small,
So they can, you can still subdivide it, you just can't make it a buildable lot.
right.
I don't think, but
Yeah, but
They
have
probably
a-
won't.
They have a approved plan to build 2 houses on the 2 lots
yeah.
with septic systems and everything, but they crammed them in.
Yeah, they
And so-
probably would not subdivide it any further.
Right. It was tough getting them through the way with 2 lots. And it's wetland, there's the lake, there's the river, and there isn't much property. But there's a plan for 2 houses on the 2 lots. So. At least it's not the railroad.
Right. Okay, Affordable Housing Trust, do you have a little
I actually have
update?
fortunately have somewhat of a substantial piece of news. A developer is beginning a lit process for Snow Road. Only reason I know about this is because it is directly across from Maxwell Drive, which is one of our main housing authority lots, and it's like almost even pre-step 1. They're looking at the project. We discussed it at length at our last housing authority meeting, and it's very standard. They want way too many units, and they want them to be way too high. But because it's the first step, everyone's confident that before we even get to permitting, those numbers will kind of
264 units.
with 44 townhouses and parking garages and it's way more land than I thought. It goes all the way past the Stop and Shop. Like,
So it goes
lot.
behind Stop and
It goes almost all the way to Forest.
So are they gonna
It's-
take out a couple of houses that are on?
Yes.
No, there's one house on it, it's 30 acres.
Yeah.
30 plus, it's more than 30
But the,
acres.
the house owns all that.
Yes,
Yes.
it's 1 lot.
So
Yeah.
right now they have already made, right in the preliminaries, they've already made some, I don't want to call them concessions, but like compromises. They're willing to put in a right turn lane coming out of Snow Road, so that will at least in some part reduce some traffic, because
Right in
taking a
front of
left
CVS.
onto
That's-
Worcester Street is a lot different than taking a right onto Worcester Street.
Right turn only, you mean?
Yes, a right turn only lane. And of course then the next question was,
Lane or the road will be right turn only?
The
no, a lane.
Are they gonna put-
75-foot
they put
length
traffic
on
light in?
Snow Road
Yeah.
for right turn only.
Yep.
onto a
You can't have people going left there unless there's a light.
Yeah.
Could
Well,
They do.
Yes,
It's
that-
horrible as it is.
Yeah,
It
and
could
That is
get
one of
way
the points
worse.
the planning board made, but it's also a point that the town, even the ZBA, has no ability to
Yes.
enforce
That was
because
State
it's state
highway.
road.
state road. So
State
there's
highway,
and it's right next to another light. So that's one of the first like
You
here
can't
you go.
petition this.
Another piece of information
Yeah,
was
we
we
can
believe
ask
there's
for it.
only proposed to be 1 entrance in and out of this development, and that immediately was like, all right, that's how you intentionally create traffic, having one way into and out of this place. But like I said, these are the questions that need to be raised at this very, very, very early level. So.
So I'm probably not the only one, but I definitely am at least one. What are the restrictions or requirements or benefits of a lip?
Very short answer is it's a step above 40B, but it limits what the ZBA could say no to in the process, but at the
Yeah.
same time it does give the town negotiating room to ask the developer to say, we will do XYZ, and the town can ask for anything.
Yes.
And the developer can say yes or no to anything, and it's things that we may not be able to ask for at all, even in a 40B.
Yeah.
We couldn't even ask for
It's
something.
beneficial for us in this spot because that's all zoned for residential. So if they didn't go through this process, theoretically it'd be much more difficult for them, but theoretically they could buy it and then just kind of run wild. So right now the numbers are not favorable for either side, but having looked over enough of these projects, I know that this is their first swing, so they kind of want to shoot for the
And
stars.
as part of a lip, are any of the units required to be affordable?
So, all of the paperwork they submitted before, I believe to have multiple language difficulties where they are claiming it to be low income, which is not what it's going to be. Low income is 30% of income as rent. This is going to most likely be in the range of the 80% of the median cost.
Affordable.
So it is going to be affordable, and it's going to be. They'll probably argue for the minimum. I think it's 20% to be.
I think 20% for rental, 25% for ownership, or vice versa.
Because
I forget which, but-
there are
and
going
I
to be
don't know if
townhouses.
that applies in LIP/40B as well, or
Yes.
if that's different.
So that will be one of the things that's negotiated by every board they go in front of. What
So
percentage can we
It
get?
was
them up
already
to?
negotiated by the select board and it's 25% affordable, and they did try to get a reduced AMI like they did
big
on,
swath.
with Eastland. And the developers for Snow Road didn't have any, they didn't seem interested in reducing the AMI for the project. They didn't think it would be feasible. But that was discussed at the select board, and there was some more discussion. A public comment came up to, push on getting reduced AMI as well, thinking that's an important component to the LIPS going forward, because we've already achieved it, but the board was unable to achieve it on this project.
And to be fair to the developers, we have already gotten them to, and like I said, it's the beginning, so they could balk, but we've already gotten them to say that they're doing multiple things. Like I said, the right turn only lane. They wanted the buildings to be 4-story. We got them down to 3 on all of them. So there's already been some.
They're gonna give $300,000 to the town.
Yep, they're going to improve sidewalk on that entire area.
I don't know
From the
about the
development-
entire street, but they'll be.
That their area of
Yeah.
the going down to
Toward Worcester Street.
Worcester. So we've gotten a little, but like I said, I'm going to keep stressing on this. This is the
And are
beginning.
they
again.
negotiating with selectmen? Are they, and,
I don't think it's
The lip
with
is
the
already
board.
done.
Yeah.
but when you're talking about these negotiations, is the housing authority involved?
Not at all. And we are only the
Is-
only reason I was privy to this information is because we are at a butter.
Neighbors.
So that's why I had gotten the letter and gotten some of this information. I believe it's either planning or
Yeah.
Where's that
It's
single entrance gonna be?
it would.
Almost right across from Maxwell. As of the preliminary drawings, it was probably want to say 300 feet away from Worcester Street.
Yeah, it's. I think
That
it's
was
by
for
that
actual.
top.
Right at the end of the street.
By that
right?
top where Maxwell kind of does that U. I think it's by the top one, and it's a two way entrance. So it's an island and then
Yep.
2 lanes. I think that they should have at least 2.
And unless they buy another house or buy somebody's land on
There's
Snow
no
They,
Road.
they have
No,
enough
there's
room to do
There's no
two.
other land.
That's the whole thing. That 72 is
No,
everything.
but I mean, for them to come out on Snow Road unless they,
They have,
I see, that one house, I see.
Yeah,
There's
those-
there
That,
are no
yeah,
other houses.
that lot on 70 looks like it's a part of it when you drive by, but it's not. So,
Yep.
I think this is one of those things where reasonably, like I said, very, very beginning, if we can get them down, keep the number of townhouses high, and get some of
Yep.
the modifications for traffic, this would be a worthwhile project. Where it is now, we're still negotiating.
Yeah,
And
I,
right-
I agree. When I saw this property coming up on various lists, I looked at that and said, that's affordable housing right there. That should be affordable housing.
I just sent you an email of the lip application, and it has schematics of what they want to pull
I
up. if
did
you
see
wanted
a
to
couple
pull it up.
pictures in
A lot of cars.
I didn't have it in a way. It was just a printout. I saw some pictures, and when I was being told it, I was imagining these stories high,
Scroll down a bunch,
disconnected
but
buildings.
that's fine.
They all look quite connected. They are. We got them to kind of push back a little bit from the right in front of the road, but they look as appropriate as they could for the area for being more dense housing.
Yep. And I will say right now, I forget the exact deadline for it, but there's going across different boards and committees, and the public
End of
is
May.
end of May is
28.
So it's the
public comment
proposed turn
public
lane.
comment period where where the comments will be going both to the developer and to the executive office of housing and livable
And those are like
Something,
parking
Livable
garages.
communities.
communities. Thank you.
I hate that they changed it.
So they'll be going to that because the state's EOHLC, whatever, is going to basically ratify the LIP and say that yes, this is all good. They can move forward with the LIP process. At that point, it will then be up to the developers to finalize their plans and bring it to the ZBA in town.
Yes.
And because it's a LIP, the ZBA will have a little bit less wiggle room than they do with a typical like 40B.
Yeah.
But they don't have a lot of wiggle room with a 40B anyway, so it's a
And especially because this lot is already zoned for
Yeah, exactly.
residential. So this is one of those things where we'll keep working with and modifying. And
Is there any
hopefully
way
it's great.
that the town, in whatever powers they may have, to say, we need 2 entrances or not with
I think
264 units? I mean, is that not a safety
I-
issue?
2 things. That number of units is going to come down almost
But
certainly.
even if it's 150, even if it's 100.
So
The safety's really out of the purview of CPA. I'm going to say that much.
No. I'm
Well,
asking
he's
because
discussing.
we're talking about it.
Can we make them know? Can we bring it to their attention enough times to where they decide that it is with the best interest?
But like the fire department will say, we can't. What if that road is blocked? We can't get in there. An ambulance can't get in there.
If that is the case, they can say that, but it's only if that is the case. So
And yeah, there's a lot of rules that we have in the subdivision rules and zoning rules that would not directly apply to this, but we could still point them out and try to get them to.
Because I know you
to
can
do
only
that.
have so many houses on a road if you only have one entrance, and it's
Yeah,
like if
and-
this is like
Yeah, and there's
50 houses.
the
Yeah.
current subdivision rules is a 500-foot dead end limit.
Yes,
and
every-
that
so-
counts as even with the loop. As long as it has one entrance to the main road, the furthest point is where they measure that. We measure that to 500 feet.
yeah, if it puts some of
That
your
is-
concerns at ease, every project I've seen that looks like this has comments by the chief and the fire chief
Because
on
I know
everything.
they do solicit their.
Yep. So it'll be
input.
fire chief, police chief, school board will talk on it and say
Health
if they can
department.
handle it. Health department. So this, like I said, very early stages. I'm happy I had the information I had. We talked about. I would have loved if the state decided to give the authority some money because that would be great land for a larger development with affordable and low income. But we don't have that kind of money.
What number of bedrooms are they gonna be for the most
They are
part?
between 2, 3, and 4. I believe those 4s are mostly reserved for those townhouses, which I believe that obviously that number will probably come down to as well. But the lowest number I saw was two bedrooms.
And has the town done like a housing production plan to determine where the need is for us?
The Affordable Housing Trust just completed a housing production plan, I think, last year, within the last year.
Yeah, that was in some of those minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not a part of. I asked specifically, Dave Robbins. This is not a part of the MBTA new
That's
zoning.
not-
It is
thing.
not.
This is its own thing.
I was just wondering where that says our town needs as far as size of units. Does anybody know?
I don't remember what that said offhand.
But it's like Ken said, this, with public transport in the town being okay, the location being right next to Stop and Shop, it's going to be.
I would love to, again, nobody asked me to somehow connect with Stop and Shop and CVS.
Yeah.
A back.
I think that
There's a
would be
service road that goes
Yeah.
from behind where that UMass Memorial is all the way up to Forest Lane, but it's a paper road.
Right,
It's not usable.
But for these people, especially just to walk, because I
Even a
see these
walkway,
poor
so they can
people
walk
from
down.
the other affordable senior housing up the road.
On four.
walking
Can you pull
all
up
the way down.
wetlands on that while you're at it, Ken? Can you pull up the wetland overlay? Do you know how to do that?
Yep.
So I think there's a wetland crossing that would cause it to not be able to go to
well,
the
that's-
connect to
my
Stop and
lord.
Shop.
Let's do
Because I know it's behind
the lights there and everything.
the other places.
Yeah,
we
it's
not-
kind of wet back there,
Oh,
We could do boardwalk.
but not right to Stop and Shop though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is steep though.
It is definitely
Yeah.
steep.
but like I said, hopefully if they do enough improvements on the sidewalk from the entrance down to the end of Snow, then hopefully.
Oh, yeah, it is steep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's going up Snow Road. It's, I believe behind Stop and Shop, it's a straight up.
Very steep.
Yeah, you can see it right there.
That would require a lot of work.
Surrounding that whole
to get it.
south and eastern corner edges
Tramway.
is steep.
But even it's like on the right hand side, Doris Drive, it said like that could be another
like 30
entrance.
feet,
I mean,
it's
they're,
30
they
feet.
do have other options to make
Look
access.
Really high.
These are all great.
Lots of
These are all great things that we are, or at least I am, going to be
asking.
bringing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that's really good information. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gravestones. Hopefully, I'm going to meet with them in June when school is out.
You
and
skipped
on
it.
this, sorry, town records. I looked at it.
Town records. So we just got another invoice that we approved today. This was for 3 books on marriages. I did ask I had asked Candy at the end of last month if she could come in May, and she said, well, can we wait? Because she's been really busy with obviously the election and all, between that and town meeting from the week before. So I touched base with her again, and she's pretty burnt out. So she would prefer to come, obviously, since she's not here, next month. I won't be here in June because I have my vacation that week. But she would like to come, and I've already told her that we're just, from my perspective, what we're looking for is an update on where she is, because when they originally came to us asking for funding, there was a list of documents and all, how many more she has, where she is on that list. But I didn't know if there was anything else that anyone wanted to ask her, and she kind of wanted to be aware of that so she could be prepared. So I didn't know if anyone else had anything specific they wanted to have her address.
My only thoughts is just what's next. When she might need more another request from us, and if she wants to bring any of the more recently done ones for us to peek at, that'd be nice, but not required.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she can certainly bring the stuff that was recently done. Ken, can you tell me? I think there was like 13,000. They just started that on that list of projects. Can you pop?
Which project is that?
So it's the town archival records, or I think that's how it's labeled.
Can.
There were two of them. One of them was used up. I think the new one just started. And I thought it had like 13,000.
13,000,
Yeah.
What would we call that?
Town Records Archival Project.
Yeah. So she just, I think it was a little under 1,000. She, I don't have it in front of me.
I think we're fine on that. This is one.
She's got plenty of money, is what I'm saying for right
Yep.
now. Yeah. She's not going to need anything for a little while.
Would you be able to provide any sort of timeline on maybe the next batch or?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll have her bring in some of the examples of the stuff that she recently did.
There was more than one of those, right?
2. Yep. One was approved in June.
And those funds are all expended.
Yep.
And one was approved in October 2021.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So what was the question?
I just wanted to make sure it was 13,000.
Yes,
But
five,
we've had one or two things come out of it recently.
five
So
and
she's,
13 total.
yeah. So, she's still above 10 by some amount. So I don't think she's going to need money immediately, but, in another year or two, she might.
The only question I would have for
The
her,
rate she's going.
and she might be able to answer it that night,
Yep.
is we've been doing 2-year sunsets, and I don't know how time, sensitive these projects are, or how long they take. Would a longer sunset be advantageous for her? Maybe a 3 or 4 year sunset, so she doesn't have to rush
Yeah.
or come back.
That's a great question for her. I would think she would. I want to say the first one didn't have an expiration on it.
It
did.
did. It sunsets also this June.
It-
but it's
originally, it didn't. We put one on it at
There
one
was
point.
a first, actually, there were 3 projects.
There was more money before.
There was
Yeah,
a 20,
'cause,
there's 20, yeah, there was a $24,000
when Maureen
project.
Clark started
Yeah.
this.
And that's listed as being done,
And that was before we had even come up with sunsets.
Right.
right?
But we're just talking about
2006.
active projects right
Yeah.
now, correct?
No, I was just,
So
I knew there was one that
That
didn't.
$5,000 one, that one also sunsets this June,
And the money's gone though.
and the money's gone, right? But the point is, that was 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to consider doing 4 years for this one that's still ongoing? Which I imagine we would all have no problem with, and I'm sure she would appreciate.
And we don't have to make that decision until next month.
Correct, but we
Anyways.
got to make sure it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
put that on the agenda. And I do think it probably makes more sense, but she will probably go through that within 2 years anyways. At the rate
great.
she's going. 'Cause
But
she's
again,
keeping
it
up a
just
good pace
depends,
with it.
yeah, that if,
For a long time,
It
nothing
slowed
was
down,
really
right.
happening, but she's been moving forward with it, which is great.
okay, so we have a couple questions for her. If we can get a list of what she thinks are yet to do, how long sunset would be appropriate? And to, if possible, which I'm sure she can because she's just down the hall, to bring a couple of recent items, maybe different type of items to show the committee. some of the type of works that,
Yep.
Yeah, just thinking I was gonna call it the next one.
How did you worded the first one? I just want to make sure I'm phrasing
ask
it
for a
right.
list of, work that is yet to be done. Things that
Yeah.
she would like to have on her wish list of, these are the items we would like to see conserved or preserved.
Probably like our next up list, basically.
You know, does she have a list of 100 and we've, gone through 50 of them, or does she have a list of 20? You know, it's like, we
Yep.
don't know how big the apple is.
Yep. Okay. I'll make sure that she knows that so that she can be prepared. But again, I won't be here.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna meet with, for the historic gravestones in June, after school is out, to do another site visit and to try to get something for an estimate and get a firm when they can get it in their schedule. So hopefully that, and from the conversation we had earlier, it's a minimal amount of work, so if once they can get it done, it will be quick and dirty, and the bulk of that money will get returned.
Awesome.
That if what they said, that they would do another proposal to do additional or different kind of work.
Because this project already has some money allocated to it, right?
It's got $7,500.
Okay, yeah, so.
But that was either to replicate the stone, and that's the way the approach was, to replicate that stone
Right.
and to take it out, and that was part of the problem. Is it's almost impossible to take it out for multiple reasons.
Could just break.
And if nothing else, in the, where do you put it? The old one, the original.
I just want to make sure, I'm glad that there's already money sitting somewhere so they can just
Yes.
go.
Historical Society?
So do projects earn interest if they last 20 years?
That'd be great.
It should.
It does. It earns interest, but it goes into the undesignated fund, my friend.
Okay, okay.
So close.
Grafton Common Restoration.
Yeah, everything's moving forward on that. Anticipating having the wrap on the electrical panel. We had thought this week, so it could be tomorrow. Weather wasn't very conducive to it today, but that should be done soon. We've ordered the plaque, and that will be installed in the not too distant future, hopefully by the end of June, maybe the beginning of July. The bollards are ordered, and we've ordered granite posts for the granite posts for the ones that the insurer is not covering from one of the motor vehicle accidents. I'm not even sure which one at this point, but the insurer wasn't going to cover it, so we are springing for that since it falls under the scope of our charge. So it's all coming together, should be wrapped up, hoping by the end of June, but it may be early July.
Okay. Any updates on 95 North Street?
Adam said that town meeting approved, equipment for DPW that will allow them to do some of that, work for the project. So now that they know that, they're, going out to bid again, I guess, for, just the parking lot, and then go from there, so.
So the actual park, for lack of a better word, for the trails, the pavilion, all those, that is off to the side. Right now, it's strictly a parking lot.
Cause they have to get a better idea of the total scope again and redo the costs.
Because for us, whose funds are they using for the parking lot? If they,
Well, that,
they
I
using
think that would come out of the
CPC
original
funds?
grant that,
because which I think that you're trying to say is that if the scope changes or changes dramatically, I mean, at town meeting, and I think our vote was for a whole facility. And if it's reduced or changed or whatever, I think that they need to come back to us.
Okay.
Either Adam or the committee. But if it's just for a parking lot, again,
well, I think that's the first phase, but I don't know if all the phases have been defined yet. So the parking lot, well, the good news is, in the middle of all of this, when the bids came back too high, and then DPW came to us and said, oops, we told you we could do the work, now we can't. that's what led to going out to bid again. But now the fact that they can recommit to the work that they originally said they could do brings some of that back in line again. It's
Yeah.
just a remainder of how much are we gonna get on our quotes.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how
According to the
far,
current.
if it has a pavilion and one of two trails, and that one trail is the handicap trail, if that, again, I can only speak for me, but it's speaking for us and also for town meeting, and I don't know how much that scope can get shrunk and still fit with what we approved or passed along to town meeting and town meeting approved.
Yep.
So yeah, from my standpoint, I think if the scope that we know our money is going to actually be able to succeed and achieve is drastically changed, and like meaning more than we had, 4 or 5 benches along the trail, I believe. If those benches were gone, that's not a huge difference to me. But if we're losing half of the project or 80% of the project and only basically guaranteeing we can build a parking lot, that is a huge deal, and I don't feel the town would have approved it. I don't think. I'm not even sure if we would have
I mean, I
approved it
think
as a parking lot.
everybody, we've approved the project. We want this project to succeed. So then the other part is you come back to us for more money.
Because the grant was for $686,000.
Right, and
And I don't want to spend that on a park.
And that was on top of $47,000 for studying.
even if the parking lot is only $50,000 and the rest of it's coming back to us, that's still $50,000 the town may not have been willing to spend on this project if they knew that was going to be the only scope.
But we want it to succeed. And I think
Yep.
that if maybe Adam should come to the next meeting. I mean, I don't know where all this in process is.
Well,
for
I think the
putting up-
conservation director needs to come because she seems to be the one more than Adam.
Okay.
that's spearheading all the RFPs and the bidding and the this and the that, so.
Whoever's in charge of the planning, I think, but I do see Colin's hand, John.
Before they expend any money.
Colin's hand.
I'm sorry.
So I just want to be clear, saying going back out to bid, it feels like it's gone out to bid a couple times. Is the bid just for the parking lot or for the whole project?
The note from Adam said it's just for parking.
Okay, so the rest of the project got back in February, March, and that bid's kind of sitting.
Yes.
Okay, good. So
And those, what we got as far as bids haven't been shared with me yet. So
Yeah, that's-
I don't know where those came in.
that's fine. I agree having somebody come in because the fact that we've added phases, I think, is a significant enough change to try to get our hands around what's going on, because there was no phases when it was approved at town meeting. So I think that's
And that, we don't want you to postpone this too long because
Right.
then all the price increases are gonna eat up every bit of
Right.
your project and you're gonna end up with just a parking lot.
Yeah, and I hate to bring up this term because with this, even though this is a positive, do we have some sort of policy or just norm for when we approve a project and then after it gets approved, it then kind of becomes compartmentalized into phases that were not at the time proposed to us?
This is new.
Okay.
Well, typically what has happened, and I think the Stone Arch Bridge it's a pretty good example of it. They had bids, or they had an estimate of what they thought it would be, not bids. And then they started to do the work, and then they got into the project and they realized it wasn't enough. And I think that's not the only project. And then they come back to us.
Yeah.
Well, they still can do it and not have to start.
Yeah.
It's while the project is ongoing. And so they say, hey, this is what we've come back with. We need to readjust. And we went to town meeting, and every time we've done that, it's been successful.
Yeah, and I
But town
understand
meeting
that.
didn't say no,
And it
but they were understanding. But we also had an explanation of why.
Yeah, but and it sounds like here they do have some bids, but they know for a fact we could do a parking lot for this much. We might want to just do that, or at least not permanently, but for now we might want to just go ahead with that. And where for me that's like, well, what if it ends at that?
But the sticker shock, maybe that's the price.
the frustrating part is that we spent like $100,000 on a study, and then very quickly after approved this project, and to have all of these things to be so out of whack after doing the right steps, it's
It is frustrating. One thing that oftentimes will happen when you don't know how things are going to work from a bidding standpoint is you have alternative bids. So you break out some of the things that you want. So you at least have a core project that you're optimistic that you can fund. But they didn't do that here. So
And it was this post-COVID that this project was approved.
Yes.
So I'm shocked that I'm not shocked. I know the pricing is ballooned, but that 685
Yeah, it's
Plus
2021 and 2022.
was
a year
still-
That's
apart.
still in the middle of,
the
it's like
economy.
prices, again, have only gone up, they have not gone down.
Yeah.
So I think the real price of everything now is gonna be 20 to 50% more than it was. So, and if that's the case,
And
we
even
need to have a conversation to say, okay, you need to come back to town meeting in October, and you have $685,000, and if you need another 500, whatever it is, go to town meeting, because we don't want a half bake, we want the whole apple, or pie, we want the whole pie, not just half of it, because all this project is important.
is that 202 real money for them, or is that already been spent? The 202,000 other funds used. There's some money there for in-kind services from DPW, Parks and Rec. They're looking for reimbursement grants, but has that already been?
I don't think there's, no.
Those are other funds they were raising.
Okay.
Again, and it says on there, because it seems like she did say there were some opportunities for grants. Has any of that come back successful, as far as you know?
He hasn't given me an update on that, no.
Because those, I mean, that's,
Right,
like, we just had a meeting with the planner, and I know she's had some success with some of these grants,
Right.
so, you know, that, even $50,000 goes a long way to help.
right.
So can we invite both stakeholders in so we can ask him about grants and her about, bids and whatnot?
Yeah, it's very vague when I speak with them about trying to get them to commit to timelines and when are we gonna have these answers, and
And let's just get him in.
a moving target.
Let them know that they shouldn't expend funds, and that'll get them here.
Yeah, I would feel very.
Because they, I won't approve being paid, so that's a
Yeah,
problem.
Yeah,
I would be very hesitant to have us approve any expenditures from the CPEA funds until this is clarified, because without town meeting approving the either the reduced scope at this price or more funds to make the full scope happen, it's hard for me to feel like we should justify even doing up to like the cupola we're going to do for there. Even the town approved one scope that was a pretty decently sized scope, and we're not losing this one small piece like a walkway on the bandstand or a bench. We're losing, from my perspective, the entire reason the town approved it.
Right.
Right.
The whole
Those
focus.
walking-
The whole focus. Of
Yeah.
and that may not be the case. They may have bids that fall within the range that
Yep.
we were looking for, that only included the inner loop, not the outer
But
loop.
even if they're only 200 grand
But we
short,
just need an update on
you
what
know,
those
come back to
plans
us,
are.
and so we can, because we can't help them if they don't tell us.
Exactly.
If there's- we're how we can help them.
Are the trail loops, ADA,
One would be, there is an accessible loop,
the inner one,
the inner one.
and the outer one is a footpath?
Yeah, and that goes through that was the more expensive loop that was gonna go through it was gonna have to have like a footbridge or something to get over a swampy area, went through the woods. So that potentially could be a second phase.
I do, at least from I remember, and my memory could be wrong here, that we talked about the idea that they might say we're going to do this as a first phase. We're hoping to be able to do the whole thing. This is the price, but they want. I feel like my memory is saying they went to town meeting saying we're doing the whole thing at this price, not saying, oh, we're going to do this if we can. We're doing this, smaller phase if we can't. So my understanding is the town meeting approved the whole thing because they also knew that larger loop was going to be more money, and losing that larger loop, at least to me, is not satisfactory to say, okay, well, they had this price, now we'll do just a smaller loop and everything.
I think the smaller loop is more money because
that
that's the
this-
accessible
the
loop. and that's
accessible-
one that
the
takes
fact
a
that
So
while.
the
this
larger
is
one's going to be more
accessible.
money.
Was
I think because it's more
key
distance where it goes through. The accessible was just crushed stone, wide area. It was pretty simple to build.
My understanding was the larger one was going to be more rough hewn. You could get volunteers to clear and make paths.
But
Okay, well, whatever.
yeah, my memory
I
is
think there are
different.
other
But
ways
either
to
way,
do it. Yeah.
And there's a pavilion, like that's something else, like a picnic pavilion was gonna be installed. So just seeing what has happened to that, I think I would like that explanation too.
okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, so we'll make sure we'll reach out to both of those people and have them attend. So we're gonna have a lot of people, a lot of guests.
Yay.
So, do you want Candy to wait until July?
She can't because her sunset
Yeah,
won't
she's
expire.
got the sunset piece, yeah,
Well,
no choice.
but we can vote for the extension of the sunset without her showing
But we
us.
wanna do what is appropriate, whether it be a longer one or
Yeah.
2 years.
Okay.
I don't think Candy's part will be that long.
The
95 North Street might take a minute.
Yeah.
accessibility
Candy go first.
at the Unitarian Universalist.
So they submitted their final invoice at the beginning of the month. So they are done. So they didn't need the sunset extension. They are in the middle of a capital campaign for the vertical lift, which is, you know, what the design work was helping them to get to. So they have pledges, they said, for about 60% so far. The goal is to complete the capital campaign by the end of June of next year. And they're considering applying for another CPA grant in January for the remainder of the needed funds. That one may be a little bit dicey for us to fund because it's interior, and that access is to their main hall or
Sanctuary.
sanctuary, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I know they use that for things other than that, but we will definitely need to reach out to town council for input on that and do that Helms test, that 3-part Helms test.
I think they'd have to maybe make a stretch for recreational use to be able to access their services.
I think the fact that it's handicapped accessibility may have some weight with it, but we have to go through that process.
And we can't fund interior recreation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have to.
I'm more concerned about people bringing up the
Oh, no.
religious.
That was just a
aspects of
response
it.
to.
Yeah.
I remember one of the questions being like, well, what if this is only used for like priests or members of the church? And I was like, all right, like,
But it's not. They have lots
Exactly.
of organizations that use their facility.
Because the elevator's not just going to the sanctuary, it's going to the basement where the
the vertical
hall
lift
is
will cover all
all
all levels.
levels.
So my only question is, on June 30th, this will be officially closed out. Like he'll be able to check the link closed out, right?
Yeah, we should be able to check with Mary.
And
to see
do we
what-
know if any funds are being returned?
I don't without checking with Mary.
Okay.
I didn't have the spreadsheet to even know what we had in there. So
Oh, all right.
are they satisfied with what they got and what they were able to do with it?
they're very appreciative
Awesome.
of it, and yes. So
Okay, Norcross Park.
That's the one that has been installed and mulch is going in and then it'll be finished.
Okay. And is it just mulch? Are they doing any rubberized surface?
I believe there's rubberized surface on it. It's just the mulch is the remaining.
That's-
Yeah, my wife asked me explicitly why are we doing only partially the rubberized surface and mulch of the rest of it? Because it
It's expensive.
is
cost.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's so expensive. I saw them do it at South Grafton. And it's just like they had buckets and I don't know what they poured. It looks like little BBs. I don't know what the chemical binder is. They pour it in and then they trowel it out and spread it out like cement. I don't know why anybody can't just go do that.
yeah.
Probably those BBs are probably what's, you know what I
No,
mean?
but still, it's like it didn't look like rocket science. It's but they actually and they also
laborious,
pay
though.
underneath of it.
Yeah,
But
maybe
it's
it's not the labor, maybe it's the materials.
The materials is what I'm thinking. Because even playground mulch is
Yeah.
pricier than you would think.
Yes, but I remember when the high school was going through all that for the turf, and that was a
And at South, they did both, and the mulch is all over everything, and nobody takes it off or
no,
sweeps
I
it off or
remember
blows it off.
that's what my wife was explicitly concerned about too. And it's like, well, in my
I'd
own
rather
thought
pay
is-
more and just not have any
Yeah.
mulch.
my own thought is doing both is almost pointless to me than doing just the more expensive one for part of it. And I'd be curious what it would cost us to finish it without mulch.
And it took them no time. It
Or-
took them one day to do that.
You know how we do like a town trash cleanup day? We could do a town CPC day where we go out to our projects and tidy them up once a year.
maybe you can do it for your
I do that in Hopkinton in one of the projects, but yeah.
Are you suggesting that Jack should go out and do the affordable housing?
No, on the
areas?
projects that require a little bit of maintenance, I think that would be a nice way to give back and have
That
like a
sounds
fun
like a good
bonding
project
thing.
for
And
National Honor Society.
But the
I
people
like
that use it,
community service.
get a leaf blower, just
building some homes.
While you're
Okay.
doing that, you guys talk for a second.
Anyway,
What do you want?
It takes me forever to get the picture, sorry.
Can we move on to the
Oh,
rental assistance?
I can quickly do
so
rental
if-
assistance.
If you're showing it there, do I?
Also,
send it
Celtics
to
are
your
already
email?
down, so
You want me to show you
up
that?
there.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
you can do that, yeah, sure, send it to my email.
So we are very, very pleased with its passage. Also, Jim was on Housing Authority for as long as any of us could remember, and also on this board since its inception. So we were very happy, and we know he'd be very happy to be able to provide this service. Since we already were able to successfully use funds from the pilot program, we know what the process is going to look like for getting the money from here to us to provide that relief. And relief looks like someone's using every last penny they can to stay wherever they have to as an emergency. We only ask first months and they can't make it. We can provide that. Also, and this is an update to let you know that our money is going to be spent even more efficiently. There was just a quick redo with how we pull our lists. So we would pull lists of emergency applicants that were living in Somerset, Springfield, and there was no rhyme or reason. And even though they're in an emergency, they can't uproot and go an hour away to here. Now the lists are pre-pulled with sort of requirements in them, and we are only getting quality applicants that can come in right away. And our vacancies have shored up, and the only thing we're going to do first before spending any money is we are going to have a lengthy meeting with our term's not attorney, but our legal counsel, so that we can form some sort of barrier just in case, because it takes one person to.
Okay.
We could spend $0. It takes one person to make an accusation of favoritism or whatever. So we are going to make sure that our executive director is insulated from any of that, and then as soon as we have that process, it is in her very capable hands to operate this project. And I'm glad that the pilot went so well, so we know that it works. So everything is looking very well on that
you
front.
found a sign.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, so,
Rust looks
Yeah, the rust is kind of like,
no, but this was in Harwich, and it's not very big, but I thought, we could do it a little bit bigger, but we were trying to come up with something, and,
use stainless screws so that you don't have that rust issue.
right, but again, this is just an idea, and I thought this was simple, and it shows the back so you can flip it over. Where I would want something a little more substantial, because those are beveled. I would want something flat where you could bang it down in the ground.
Did you flip the sign around to take that picture?
I'd have to open it in a
I
different
don't know why.
application.
No
Come
comment.
in backwards.
Must he told
Hey, I'm just glad that the front came out the right way.
Anyway, so
That'd be
that's
hard
just-
to put
that's
in.
PT
No,
two-
but that's
two
what I'm
by
saying.
twos.
Yeah.
That this, it looks like it's small, that it would go in a little garden that you just push in. But for ours, I'd want it to be at least twice that size. But I thought that this, again, kind of going back to square one, I would reach out and go meet with the people this summer at Sunshine to see what they set, to get the plastic wood and to have some kind of post that you can bang in the ground. And I thought this was an attractive sign. We could have a couple of them, easy to install. It would be long wearing. And, it give us some recognition of, wherever the projects are, and you could move them from project to project.
And I like the idea of having them
There we go.
in stock, for lack of a better word. Have
Just
them
like
ready
having
to go.
5 of them, just
Available,
so, have multiple signs. But
There you go.
I thought it was
Looks amazing.
it was a nice little sign.
like it.
I mean, again, it's
Pretty sure
not rocket
John took
science,
it out of the
but
ground
somebody
and turned
did
it
a.
around, though.
I saw one a couple months ago. It was like the Yarmouth CPC or something, and I was like, oh my god.
Some of them have banners, and it's like, and I've seen them all at the Cape, and they really do have. Some of them have some really nice, very nice signs that a little bit more involved than what we want to do, but we want to have something that that's easy to do, easy to maintain, hopefully durable, but gets people notified that the CPC is working for them in their neighborhood.
And how long would those signs stay there?
I would say because,
that
and again,
year?
I didn't take it, or I did take a picture of the sign on the common, because whenever the Mass Historical gives you money, they require you, and they give you several hundreds or thousands of dollars to make a sign, a huge sign that says Preservation Works, and it's in front of your building, and then they throw them away.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
had that for the townhouse.
The townhouse.
It was
and
huge. It was like
it's
6 feet long.
huge that they have requirements that you
Repeat
do
that.
this, and I don't want to waste money that way, but that I would like to see it reused, and until it kind of falls apart or looks bad, and then get another one, or come up with a better idea.
And I like having them during the
So that
Construction,
so
so you
like
can-
if like at the Baptist church, we just put one up right now, and leave it up all through the project, and maybe for 6 months after, we could come up again with the policy. We're gonna have we're gonna be like the schools and have 500 policies before we watch it.
And then I'm assuming the dream with that is that someone in town or an entity in town with an idea sees that and goes, "Oh,
But it's
making money." But
it's also a thing that with the building inspector, because I know there are rules about signs and temporary signs, and this is a temporary sign.
So many bylaws.
There's so many
We're not gonna
rules,
get
so
into
it's
those
like-
tonight.
yes,
So
make sure
again,
we don't do
it's,
any A signs. None of that.
but just something to.
Is that something that's been run by him? Do you think that's gonna be a problem?
I mean, I could ask. I mean, that's because that has been
Look for that.
a problem in the past with signs on the common, because if they're temporary, like people put up banners, like they tie them around those posts, the pillars, and because it's temporary, they could have it up for a year.
So can we just put that on the next agenda to do more of an update on signs, and
But-
maybe you can reach out to Berger before then. And
So, okay. Robinson update baseline.
That's actually being worked on now. It should be another month or so, month or two, and it'll be done.
So we started it. They started it already.
Yeah, it started.
Okay.
It's, they just say it needs need to go out there and take some more pictures, which is easily done.
Okay. And the last one is the library cupola, and I don't know if you can pull up somebody, if you're already hooked up, that
that's a you.
Evan sent.
Emails,
It's on the pack in the packet
Okay,
2 photos.
to show
can do that.
the work.
The spreadsheet should be on there too.
And he sent an email, and because I'd asked, because I haven't seen any invoices, and he said, and he made it very clear that that they're using the library trustees funding first. They're using the Mass Historical or the Mass Historical money, and then they're using ours last.
Yes.
So he was very well aware that our money's last, but that the work is ongoing, and I think they will have a new
You
library
want the
director.
pictures? There's
Yeah,
pictures
yeah.
and
Yeah, there's two of them.
pictures and a spreadsheet.
Yep. And that first email
Oh.
So that's a nice picture. Yeah.
to summarize.
That's
Cool
shot.
shot.
Yeah, to summarize the email he did send, there's no issues or delays going forward. They're on time.
Used a drone for that.
Estimated completion date of
think
the
the
current
parking
work is August 15th.
No.
They're doing the louvers. The louvers are being removed and will be brought offsite for restoration. All structural and weatherproofing for the interior is 90% complete. And
Is the roof part of it? Look at that. Is that
No, look at
See
that
the
slate, and at one
that's
time
a
that was
drone
all the
shot.
same color. So
I know, but
that's
the-
how many repairs.
the
they
roof
made.
is being
The tiles.
part of the cupola there?
oh yeah, when I saw the spreadsheet, I was like, well, he might not even
You're
get to
talking
our money.
about
The
And then-
plywood there?
Oh,
Oh,
email.
Plywood is
that's
on
just
top
to
of the
support
shingles.
It's protecting the
okay,
slate.
that makes sense.
It's
supporting
protecting
the,
the slate.
scaffolding.
I was
From the
like, oh, no.
scaffolding, yeah.
What is it look so? Maybe it's like sold.
No, not
That's a really cool shot.
There's no.
Because you shared a picture of from the ground level.
Yes, I did.
But I think not to
This is
not to
obviously
disparage
better.
your photography, but this is way
I had clouds.
So
it was
cool.
nice. But this is way cooler.
because you can actually see what's the problem, and you can see if you look around the base, you can see a lot of bare wood or wood that's missing and rot. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and that's where the infiltration happens. Okay,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Jack, second by Colleen to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried unanimously. We are adjourned